This is chapter number 7, Tribes, Nomads and Settled Communities. So last time we saw which tribe in the Indian subcontinent where they were living. Now we are talking about changing society, new caste and hierarchies. What does it mean? That what was changing in the society, how the new castes were coming, and what was their levels, what was the hierarchy. So what happened at that time? Previously it was Varna Vyavastha, means the main categorization was Varna Vyavastha. That is, if you are doing these rituals, you are Brahman, then you are warrior, then you are Kshatriya, you are doing trading, merchant, then you are the Vaishyas, and if you are doing all the work for the other three, or your servant, or below level work, that is ganda uthana type. So these are Shudras. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Inside this, new caste started coming, smaller castes. Like in Brahman, even in Brahmans, there were new castes coming up, appeared. So various tribes and various social groups, the various tribes and groups, they were taken into this Varna Vyavastha, or you can say they were given a tag of a jati, that okay, you are a jati, we have given you a status of this jati. Who has given you? Who has given? Brahmans have given. Brahmans have given to various tribes and social groups. So now the question will be, what kind of jatis or partition we are talking about? We are talking about, say, smiths, goldsmith, blacksmith, those who are doing the lakdi or woodwork, carpenter, those who are working for construction, masons. Now these three are different from what used to be earlier. It was not falling in Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So they were called here. That is, professionally, if you see, this smith, professionally, goldsmith or any other smith, it came into being. That is, Indian subcontinent was very big. Somewhere it is some smith. So they were included in certain jatis. And who gave them? Brahman tagged them. Brahman gave them. So previously it was the categorization of 4, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Now the society was divided or organized on the basis of these jatis, not the Varna. Varna was Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Now it was not Varna Vyavastha, but it has started the Jati Vyavastha. That is, in Shudra, if you say some are Dhobi, some are Kurmi, some are Charmakar. So there are different type of categories also, jatis in a jati, in a varna. So the Kshatriyas at this time, in the Kshatriyas, the Rajput became very powerful. We talked about 11th and 12th century, if you remember. So here at this time, 11th, 12th century, Rajput became very powerful. And they were coming from various lineages or various vansh, dynasty, Hun, like Hunas. They are coming from Hunas. They were coming from Chandelas or Chalukyas. So there were many more of this Rajputs. But some of them were earlier not Rajputs, but earlier they were tribes. So I am saying Rajput were not all the Rajputs, but some of the Rajputs were tribes. Okay, and when they became the ruler, what they did? When they became Rajput, they captured specifically the agriculture area. That is, they you can say annexed or defeated or captured or replaced the older rulers which were taking care of the agriculture areas. I hope you got the idea. So now this area, the forest area basically, because they were tribes, so they wanted that area, they were into agriculture, but now they have become Rajput. So Rajput, they were in this position of ruler. So, and how do they become? They were, some were the Rajputs, but some became Rajputs from tribes. That is, if you are not a Rajput and you want to become a Rajput, or you are not a Brahman, you want to become a Brahman, then there are Karma Kand, Ashwamedh Yajna, like all these Yajnas were there. So Brahmans will make you whichever caste you want. They were all rituals. So the Kshatriyas who wanted to become Brahman, Brahman wanted to become this. So tribes, the tribe also wanted to become the ruling class. So tribes wanted to become Rajput, and Brahmans can do it. Brahmans can do just by some puja archana, they can do it. So these tribes, they wanted to become the ruling party or ruling level. Okay, so they wanted to rule. So various tribes, they wanted to rule, but certain tribes, if you see, the Brahmins only allowed the lower caste or lower tribes, or not the higher tribes. Only they allowed higher tribes to rule. Lower tribe they didn't allow. And the other tribes, specifically the Punjab, Sindh and Northwest frontier I am talking about, that is the present day Pakistan, the Punjab, Sindh and Northwest frontier, those tribes, they were taking Islam, or they adopted Islam. Okay, they didn't believe in this Varna Vyavastha, they didn't accept it, so they just took the Islam religion. Okay, they didn't wanted this Varna Vyavastha. So in conclusion, the tribes wanted to be a ruler, but only these specific tribes were given prominence by the Brahmins, not all. And other tribes in this region, which I talked about, they took Islam. They took Islam. And they continue to reject this caste system. They don't want this caste system of specific binding. So they took to the Islam. Islam, there is no caste system. Okay. Now, let me take you to the internals, or a closer look of two of the tribes, the Gonds and the Ahoms. Gonds and the Ahoms. So we'll go to the detail and try to talk about them. Right? So Gonds are here. I told you about the places. Right? The Gonds are in the central part of India. You can say the lower central part, to be very specific. Right? This basically is Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. Like, or right side also you see Bihar. All these, central touching area, they were there. Because you cannot just define one place. This Gondwana place is a very big place, and this is a forested region. Why forested region? Because they were tribes, and tribes love to be in forest. They want agriculture. They were hunter-gatherers. And this Gondwana, where they live, were called Gondwana area. And this Gondwana was nothing but the country inhabited by Gonds. The people who are Gonds, wherever they are living, they are Gondwana. And they were following the shifting cultivation. That is, one place they will go, cut all the trees and burn them. That is, this is called slash and burn type of shifting cultivation. Then when the urvarta or the fertility is not remaining here, they'll go to another place, again slash or cut the trees, again burn, have the cultivation, and they'll move to another place. So see here, we have slash and burn example. So this is slash and burn or shifting kind of cultivation. So let me show you how they are divided. The Gond tribe, that is the large Gond tribe, they were divided into clans or kul or clans. So there were one Raja or Rai for each clan, means each kul there will be one Raja, one clan. But at this time what was happening, the Delhi Sultanate was declining. So there were different Gond clans, or you can say tribes. Some were very big, very powerful, some were not. So what happened? Gond region only, the larger or the stronger Gond kingdom, they started to dominate the smaller Gond chiefs. That is, they wanted to dominate it or take control. The powerful one, they wanted to take control of those who are not that powerful. Okay. So the Akbarnama, in the Akbarnama, Abul Fazl has written for Akbar, it is clearly being said that the Gond kingdom, let me give it the specific name is Gadkatanga, GK. Gadkatanga. There were different Gads. This is a common name for Gondwana. So Gadkatanga, that had 70,000 villages. Can you imagine? Gadkatanga was having 70,000 villages. So this is a Gadkatanga. If you want to remember which is this place, if you see there is left Bhopal, the capital of Madhya Pradesh, then you have Jabalpur in between. So this is the region we are talking about. Okay, so this area which is boundary, which is shaded dark yellow, this is the boundary of Gond Kingdom. Gond Kingdom. So you have Balaghat here, Jabalpur here, like this. So I'm talking about Gond here. How was the division? You just need to remember this division. So it was a centralized kind of division. Centralized kind of division. Okay. This is Gadkatanga. Just imagine this is some Gond kingdom or Gadkatanga. First thing is the administration was centralized. It was by some central regime, central king. So it was centralized. So all these kingdoms were divided into Gads. Gads. So you have different Gad. If you still go there, you will find the name of the places as Gad. So this whole kingdom were divided into different Gads. First partition is this. Okay. Now every Gad was divided, and every Gad is controlled by certain Gond clan. That is certain Kul. So this Gond clan, or that particular area which is called Gad, is again divided into one part, I am saying, of the whole area, that is the Gad, is divided into 84 villages. Okay, you take one of the Gad, divide it into 84 parts, 84 villages, and this is called Chorasi. That is why it is called Chorasi. So 84 villages they were divided, and a single Chorasi part, that is one of the 84 parts, is again divided into 12 more villages. That is called Badhaut. That is called Badhaut. Chorasi, that is whole kingdom is divided into Gad. Gad is divided into 84 Chorasi. Chorasi are 84 villages, and one of the villages of these 84 will be divided into 12 other villages. Okay. So this is how kingdom was made. So see here, there is a picture of Gondwana, and here you see different Gads. Okay, Bhairav Gad, Chaura Gad, Bandar Gad, these are Gad. Now, when the big state came into being, what will happen? There will be a division of the society. There were social caste difference. Some will become powerful, some will not. Some will become rich, some will not. Okay. So what this social classes has emerged. So Brahmans at this time, they got a lot of land grants, that is money and land, from Gond Rajas, Gond kings. And the Brahmans became very powerful. So when the Brahman became powerful, you know, Brahman can do anything. They can make you Kshatriya, they can make you Brahman, they can make you Shudra. So the Rajputs, these Gond chiefs wanted to be Rajput. They wanted, okay, because they wanted to be a warrior clan, warrior, Varna. So that is how they wanted to become Rajput. So they wanted the help of these Brahmans. For example, I'll give you an example. There was a Gadkatanga king, Raja. The Gadkatanga Raja, his name was Aman Das. What was his name? The Gadkatanga Raja was Amandas. So what he did, he took the upadhi or the title of Sangram Shah. That is, he became from tribe to Rajput. The Amandas, who was previously a Gond tribe, a king or Raja, he became Rajput as the name with Sangram Shah as this name, okay, and his son was Dalpat. And Dalpat got married to Rani Durgavati. Dalpat was married to Rani, means at that time she was princess, Rajkumari. So Rajkumari Durgavati. And Durgavati, who was Durgavati? Durgavati was a Rajput. She was the daughter of Salbahan. Salbahan was the Chandel Rajput Raja of where? Mahoba, okay, Bundelkhand region. So he was Salbahan Chandel Rajput Raja of Mahoba. His daughter Durgavati married Dalpat, who was the son of Sangram Shah. Okay, did you get the network here? Okay. Now Dalpat was the son of Sangram Shah. He died in a very, just after some time. So Rani Durgavati, because she was a Rajput, she was very capable, she was powerful, she is Rani Durgavati. And here we have Sangram Shah. On left you see Sangram Shah. So this is Rani Durgavati on the right you see. And she was very strong, capable, and she started ruling. She started ruling how? Because his Dalpat and Durgavati have a son. Dalpat and Durgavati have son, which is called as, what was the name? The name is B. Narayan. Their son is called B. Narayan. Dalpat, Durgavati son B. Narayan. So she started, ruling. So in 1565, what happened? Under the Asaf Khan, that is the Mughal forces, they attacked Gadkatanga. Asaf Khan attacked Gadkatanga. But who was at Gadkatanga? Who is ruling? Rani Durgavati. Rani Durgavati was ruling it. Okay. Now she became, she took this face. She became a warrior. This is Rani Durgavati. Both are Rani Durgavati. One in the, female form, one in the warrior form. Okay. So she actually took that attack and put a strong defense. But finally, like Lakshmibai Rani Jhansi, you have heard that she said, I will not give my Jhansi. She also said, I will not give my Gadkatanga. But ultimately, she was defeated. Gadkatanga was defeated, and B. Narayan also died after some time. So Gadkatanga was a very rich state. It was a rich state. And why this Gadkatanga was a rich state? Why? It's a forest area. That region is a forest area. So it has a lot of elephants and all those natural resources also. So the Gadkatanga or the tribes, golden tribes, will capture this elephant and will train them and then try to export it to the nearby regimes, emperors, kings, warriors, and the people. So Hathi, they would do this. So Mughal, defeated the Gonds. So what happened? They took one of the part, annexed one of the part, but the other part, means small part they have taken, but the other part they gave it to Chandan Shah. Who was Chandan Shah? If you remember Bir Narayan, Chandan Shah was the uncle of Bir Narayan, Chandan Shah. You can say the Chandan Shah and Dalpat were brothers. But the Marathas and the Bundelas were too strong for these Gonds. So that is how they finally defeated. Now coming to our homes. Whenever I say about my home, you have to go to the northeast. So Assam and Myanmar, there are two places. Myanmar, today is Burma. Because at that time there were no boundaries. Myanmar and all these were together. So these Myanmar people, they came to this Brahmaputra Valley. I showed you this red line is Brahmaputra. So this from Myanmar people who came to Assamese area, to today's Assamese area, they are Ahoms. They are Ahoms. And at that time, who were ruling there or who were taking care of that place? Bhuiya, the landlords at that Brahmaputra Valley. But Ahom finally subjugated them, suppressed them, these Bhuiyas or landlords. And I'm talking about 16th century. They took over Shutiyas, that is 1523, and also Coach Hajo in 1581. They took or they annexed them or controlled them also. So Bhuiya, then Shutiyas, then Coach Hajo. So it was so special about them. In 1530s, they already have the firearms. Like today we have pistols, etc. These are firearms. So they already have it, the primitive version. And by the 1660s, they become so powerful and sophisticated, they created gunpowder, good quality gunpowder and cannons. That is Barood or Top. The gunpowder and cannons. Okay. So that is how they became so powerful. But they had various invasions. For example, in 1662, Mughal Empire under the leadership of Mir Jumla, he attacked Ahom kingdom. Right? Now, these Ahoms put up brave defense. They gave big defense, but finally they were defeated, even though they were having these firearms, gunpowder and cannons. But if you see Mughal Empire, Delhi and Agra and Northeast is so far off, they couldn't control this place. So the Mughal control did not last long to Ahom regions. Now the Ahom state, it depended upon what? It depended upon forced labor, begar. These were called pikes. So these all are pikes. The founder of Ahom dynasty is Sukhapa. This is the picture of Sukhapa. Ahom dynasty founder is Sukhapa. This is Ahom dynasty. This is the map. These are different buildings and creations. So I was talking about pikes. Pikes were simple. I called you. Say example, I called you and I wanted you to work, but I don't give you money. So this is forced labor. So pikes, forced labor. So Ahom people did what? They did the census or Janaganna of each area, and they ordered them that every area has to send certain pikes depending upon the population on rotation. That today this will come, today from your region pike will come, next day other people will come from this region, pikes. So what they did, there was a certain thing they did that actually created some problem. So these pikes, some from one place, some 10 will come, some place, some 20 will come. So they were not equal pikes coming. So they wanted equal pikes every time. So they divided or they transferred the people from one place to another. For example, from one place 10 pikes are coming, from other place 50 pikes are coming. So in order to make them, what is this? 10 plus 50 by 2, that is 30 they wanted. So they shifted 20 from one place to the 10 place. That is both places now they have 30 and 30. These are now the Kulan clan, which were earlier, it got destroyed, it got broken up because one clan, some people were in different region, some are in other region. So all the adult people, all the adult males, they have to fight for Ahom's army whenever there is a war-like situation. So all the adults, they have to go for war. They have to, right? And the war is not going on. So public work, that is irrigation system, dams, public works. Also, they have introduced very good methods of rice cultivation. This also they did, rice cultivation. So the Ahom society, they were divided into clans or khels. So you remember the name of khel. So they were not having that much of artisans at that time. That is those who are those who have skilled workers. So they were getting it from, adjoining or neighboring kingdoms. A khel often controlled several villages. So the peasant were given the land from the village community, Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha will give the peasant or a farmer land, but once it is given, it can't even be taken by the Raja. It can't be even taken by king. So originally these Ahoms, they were only like every other tribes. They were praising, they were worshipping their god, tribal gods, different tribal gods. But in the first half of the 16th century, that is 17th century, that is around 1650, you can understand. So the influence of Brahmins increased here. Brahmins came here by whichever way, the influence became very much. So these Brahmins, they were given land also. The kings were giving lands to Brahmins. So now we have this Sib Singh. The Sib Singh, under his Shasan Kal or reign from 1714 to 1744, under his regime, the Hinduism prospered and it became the main predominant religion of this area. That is why we have in Assam area and nearby you see Hindus. But finally, they also kept the earlier, becoming Hindu and keeping earlier traditions. So it was quite a sophisticated kind of society. They would all praise poets, scholars, or those who are having art form, dance, etc. So all these were given privileges, or land grants were given to specifically poets and scholars. And Buranjis, this was all the historical work they have, Buranjis. So they also translated into what? First in Ahom language and then into Assamese language. Ahom and then Assamese language. Okay. So let us say what we conclude, that there were tribes, all these in between 8th to 18th century we are talking about. One Vyavastha they were not following, and they have a different culture, different kinship kind of bond. Coming to the elsewhere, we are talking about Mongols. So here we have Mongolia. This is a Mongolia, below Russia, above China. Now this region is having one very important tribe. These were pastorals or hunter-gatherers. They were doing this kind of work, and these are called Mongols. This was a tribe, and they were living or inhabited in the grassland, that is steppes of Central Asia. So in 1206, if I talk about, there were Genghis Khan, Genghis Khan as we know it. He did a very good thing. He combined the power of Mongols and Turkish, that is the Ottomans, Mongols and Turkish, and that is how he formed a very powerful military force. They included the part or annexed the part of Russia, Eastern Europe, China, and West Asia. Okay, so this is how they have a very good military and administrative system. So this is all about this chapter. Thank you so much and take care of yourself.